The auditorium smelled like overwashed robes and nerves. I scanned the rows again, slowly. Like maybe I'd missed them. Like maybe the front row of parents with cell phones aimed at the stage had somehow swallowed my mother's face or my father's stance. They weren't there. Lauren leaned in, still not answering. I didn't look at her. They must have hit traffic, which was a lie. I'd already checked their location. Mom shared hers automatically in the family chat. They were 35 miles away, at a high school stadium. I blinked up at the podium. My name was fourth in the program. I'm sure they'll be here by the time you speak, Lauren said, too softly. I nodded once. Then I smiled, because someone across the aisle lifted their phone at me. I smiled like I wasn't calculating the distance between a high school dugout and my university's auditorium. Like I wasn't staring at the two seats we reserved just for them, one with a gold-trimmed envelope on the seat, the other with a small flower I paid for. My fingers brushed over the folded speech in my lap. Summa cum laude. 4 years. To majors. Full scholarship. I didn't miss a single final. I didn't miss a single family dinner, even when I wanted to. And they missed this. Next up, valedictorian of the class of 2022. I stood. My knees didn't wobble. My heart didn't race. It just hollowed out. Lauren squeezed my hand once before I walked to the stage. She was the only one who ever did things like that. The applause sounded far away. I reached the podium, looked out at a crowd of people who had parents clapping for them, and breathed in. 4 years ago, I arrived on this campus with a suitcase, a planner, and a lot to prove. A man in the 6th row took a photo of his daughter. I noticed every mother beaming. Every father who wiped his eyes behind sunglasses. I worked. I studied. I gave everything I had to this school. And to myself. No one cheered for me. No one said, "That's my girl." We learned in the classroom, but also outside of it. We grew up here. We found out what we're made of. A baby cried somewhere near the back. I waited for it to stop. We're not who we were when we came here. And for that, I'm proud. I folded the speech. I wasn't going to cry. Congratulations, class of 2022. Polite applause. A few whistles. A professor nodded. I walked back to my seat with the same practiced smile I'd worn for most of my life. When I sat, Lauren handed me a tissue. I didn't need it. They're not coming, are they? I checked my phone. Nothing. No. I'm sorry. They said Ben had a championship game today. Maybe they thought it was more important. He's in high school. I didn't respond. I stared straight ahead. On the lawn after the ceremony, Lauren took a photo of me under a tree. Want one with your family? They're not here. She gave me a look. I didn't return it. You were perfect up there, she said. They missed it, but I didn't. Thank you. A few professors shook my hand. One asked about grad school. Another said something about the dean's list and a letter of recommendation. I nodded, smiled, posed. I carried the bouquet Lauren gave me. She'd wrapped it in brown paper and tied it with twine. You hungry? She asked. I nodded. We walked toward the lot in silence. She didn't ask again about my parents. She knew better. I got in the passenger seat of her car and stared at the flower petals stuck to my robe. It looked like a comma, a pause in a sentence. She started the engine. Want to drive through somewhere? I don't care. We pulled out of the lot. I checked my phone one more time. My mother had posted something to Facebook. Proud of our Ben. Big win today. 6-3. Headed to regionals. Hashtag baseball family. A photo of her and Dad smiling in bleachers. Ben in uniform behind them, sweaty and triumphant. The caption continued. We hated missing graduation but had to support our boy. No mention of me. No photo of me in a cap and gown. I didn't show Lauren. I just rolled down the window and let the air hit my face. Asterisk I didn't answer the phone that night. It rang once, Mom, and I let it go silent. She didn't leave a message by the next morning. They'd uploaded an entire album. Regionals bound 14 photos. Foam fingers. Matching shirts that said Team Ben. Dad holding a paper sign. Our all-star. No mention of the ceremony. None. Lauren set a mug of coffee in front of me and turned her phone face down. You're not going to call them? I stared at the screen. No. You should at least say something. I did. I said, tapping on the image of them smiling in the stands. This is what I said. They chose. Lauren didn't argue. She just sat down across from me, pushing a bagel across the table. Eat something. Rage needs carbs. I'm not angry. You're... What, then? I didn't answer. I ate the bagel in silence, because silence was the only thing I could control. That afternoon, Dad texted me, Dad. Hey kiddo, hope yesterday went well. Sorry we missed it. You looked great in the pictures your school posted. Pictures. The school posted. Strangers took those. Strangers cheered me. Thanks. That's all I sent. One word. He didn't reply. 2 days later. Ben facetimed me. I declined it. He texted next. Ben, big win, huh? Wish you could have come, me. I had graduation. Ben, yeah, but that's boring, lol. We'll celebrate you soon. I stared at the message until my vision blurred me. Don't bother. His lol told me everything I already knew. Lauren saw my face and didn't ask. She picked up my empty mug and said, You're going to have to say it out loud sometime. I don't think I am. You think. They'll notice if you just never bring it up. They already did what they did. I'm not waiting for them to undo it. She leaned against the counter. You're allowed to say it hurt. I'm allowed to decide who gets access to me. I said, and that door's not automatic. Lauren tilted her head. That's the coldest thing you've ever said. I'm not cold. No, she agreed. You're clear. Later that week, I saw them in person. Sunday dinner. Mom's roast chicken. Dad at the head of the table. Phone beside his plate. Like always, Ben rehashed every inning of his game. Coach said I was on fire. Did you see the third hit? I mean, come on. That was MLB level. Mom beamed. We were screaming. Your dad lost his voice. That whole section was us, Dad said. You heard us, didn't you, bud? Ben grinned. Hell yeah, I did. I folded my napkin twice. Glad it went well. Mom turned to me, like she just remembered I existed. Didn't the school post something about your speech? They did. You looked nice. Dad added. Thanks. Ben reached for the potatoes. You must have killed it up there. I mean, you always do. I did fine. That degree's what again? Political something? Political science and philosophy, I said. Double major. Dad whistled. Brains and beauty. Mom smiled like she'd just contributed something. We'll have to frame one of your photos. Don't worry about it, I said. She blinked. What do you mean? I have one already. It's mine. Of course it's yours, she laughed. But it should go up next to Ben's letter. No, I said, setting my fork down. It shouldn't. The table went still. Ben looked confused. Wait, are you mad about the game? I looked at him. You think I'm mad? I mean, you seem kinda off. Dad stepped in. We said we were sorry we couldn't make it. It was bad timing. No, it wasn't. Mom frowned. Honey, don't make this dramatic. I'm not. I'm making it clear. She crossed her arms. We had to be there for Ben. It was regionals. It was my graduation. We've been to every other thing of yours. Dad said, you know we're proud. Are you? I asked, because it doesn't feel like that. They stared. I graduated top of my class. I gave the speech. I saved you thousands with scholarships. I never missed a thing. And you chose bleachers and hot dogs over that. Ben leaned forward. It wasn't personal, but it was, I said. It was exactly that. Mom reached for my hand. I moved it. I'm not asking for anything, I said. I'm just done pretending. Dad sighed. You're making this bigger than it is. No. I'm finally seeing it for what it's always been. I stood, calmly, picked up my plate, carried it to the sink. I'm going home. Ben followed me to the door. You're really upset about this. No, I said. I'm just not surprised anymore. That's worse. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. I opened the hallway closet slowly. Even though I knew exactly what I was reaching for, the photo was buried behind a stack of yearbooks. And the ceramic angel Mom swore she'd throw away every Christmas but never did in my graduation picture. The one the school photographer took right after the ceremony. I'm smiling and it's small, contained. Alone, I pulled it out by its frame. The cheap gold plastic bowed slightly at the corners. It hadn't been hung, just tucked away. The hallway walls were full of Ben. Ben swinging a bat. Ben holding trophies. Ben in uniforms from ages 7 to 17. My photo was the only one behind a door. I stood there for a moment. The light overhead flickered. Once, then settled. I pressed my thumb against the glass, over my own face. Then I walked it to the kitchen. Mom was wiping down the counter. She looked up, smiling. Need something, honey? I held up the frame. I'm taking this. She blinked. That? Oh, sure. I didn't even realize we still had it in there. You did, I said. You just didn't put it up. Well, we were waiting to get it reframed properly. Your dad wanted to do something nicer. It's been 8 months. She paused, cloth in hand. I guess time got away from us. No, I said. It didn't. Mom straightened. Are you going to start this again? I'm not starting anything. I'm finishing something. She opened her mouth, closed it. It's just a photo. It's my photo, I said. And it belongs somewhere people don't forget it exists. I left before she could say more. At my apartment, I cleared a spot on the living room wall, between the window and the bookshelf, just high enough to make it central. Lauren watched me hammer the nail. That where it's going? Yes. She handed me a level. You want it perfectly straight. I want it seen. I stepped back. The frame hung slightly crooked. I didn't fix it. It's good, Lauren said. It's mine. She leaned against the wall. I'd have killed someone if they'd done that to me. I don't want revenge. You sure? I looked at the photo. I want to stop erasing myself to make them feel comfortable. Lauren didn't answer for a moment. You always do that. Always. Even when we met. No, I said. That's why we're still friends. She smiled. You're damn right. We made tea. Sat in silence for a while. The picture watching us from the wall. You know, Lauren said, if you ever have kids, they'll ask about that photo. I'll tell them. What will you say? I thought about it. That it was the first time I did something important and clapped for myself when no one else did. Lauren nodded slowly. That's kind of beautiful. It didn't feel beautiful. Not everything beautiful does. I drank the last of my tea and stood. Want to go for a walk? I asked. Sure. Let me grab a sweater. I glanced back once before we left. The photo caught the last of the sun, a streak of light cutting across my gown. For a second, it looked like gold. Asterisk asterisk, it was the third stall from the right. The one with the broken lock and a crack wide enough to see the edge of someone's shoe. I didn't mean to cry there. I just didn't know where else to go. The ceremony was over. The speeches, the photos, the polite hugs from professors who barely knew me. Everyone else was heading to lunch or flowers or champagne. I was in a bathroom stall with toilet paper pressed to my face. Not because I was alone, because I wasn't surprised. You okay in there? Lauren's voice, quiet. I'm fine. No, you're not. Silence. Then, can I come in? The door doesn't lock. It's me. She pushed it open gently and stood in front of me like a shield. She didn't say anything right away, just reached into her purse and handed me a clean tissue. You don't have to talk. I didn't. I sat on the closed toilet lid in my cap and gown, hands shaking, shoulders tight, trying not to sob like a child. I don't think I've ever seen you cry, she said softly. I don't cry. You do now. I pressed the tissue harder against my eyes. I just thought maybe this time. I know. They said they'd come. I know. I made the speech perfect. I even printed copies for them. Lauren crouched down beside me. You don't owe me an explanation. I looked at her. Then who do I owe one to? She hesitated. Yourself. Maybe. I shook my head. I keep thinking, if I'd done something bigger, if I'd won something national or made the news, maybe then. Stop. Her voice sharpened. Don't do that. I swallowed. What's wrong with me that they? Nothing. She cut in. Nothing is wrong with you. Something is wrong with them. I looked down at the crumpled tissue in my hand. I don't think they meant to hurt me. That's the problem. They didn't even think. We sat there for another minute. The air smelled like cheap soap and disappointment. Then she stood and offered her hand. Let's go. I don't want to see anyone. We'll get burgers. Or ice cream. Or go sit in the car and scream at nothing. But we're not staying here. I let her pull me up. In the mirror, my mascara was smudged. I wiped it off with a paper towel. No one had ever taught me how to fix my face after crying. We walked out together. Outside, families posed under banners. I kept my eyes down until we reached her car. She unlocked it, opened the door. Want music or silence? Music. She handed me the aux cord. Your choice. I played something wordless, just piano. I didn't want lyrics filling the space I needed to breathe in. Halfway to the diner, she spoke again. You want to talk about something else? No. You want to talk about them? Also no. She nodded. Then we sit with it. We did. The kind of silence that only comes with real friendship at the diner. The waitress asked if we were celebrating. Lauren smiled for both of us. She just graduated. Oh, congrats. What'll it be? Bacon cheeseburger. I said. No. Tomato. Chocolate milkshake. The waitress grinned. Good choice. When she left, Lauren raised her glass of water. To you? I didn't raise mine. I just looked at her. It's going to sit with me for a long time. I know. Not just what they did. What I let them do. All those years. That's not on you. I made excuses. I told myself it didn't matter. That they loved me. Just differently. People love badly sometimes, she said. And some people don't know how to love at all. I still wanted it. From them. I know. The food came. We ate. I didn't say anything else until the check arrived. Thank you, I said quietly. For what? For being there when it cracked. She looked at me like she was choosing her words. It didn't crack. You just stopped taping it shut. Asterisk asterisk. Thanksgiving was beige and overcooked. As usual. The turkey was dry. The stuffing too wet. The tablecloth was the same one we'd used since I was 11-leaf print, polyester, slightly scorched on one corner from a candle mishap no one ever admitted to. Ben, pass the yams, Mom said. Mom, no one eats yams. Ben groaned. I do, I said, reaching for the bowl. Ben rolled his eyes and passed them anyway. Dad was already cutting into his second slice of turkey. So, Richard said, not looking at me, what's next for you? Grad school. Maybe. You're smart enough for it. Thanks. The silence was deliberate, not hostile, just careful. They didn't bring up the graduation. I didn't ask why they hadn't. We ate in the echo of conversations. That didn't happen after dinner. Ben turned on the game. Mom started loading dishes. I followed her to the kitchen. Need help? She looked surprised. Sure. You do the glasses. Careful they chip. I washed. She dried. The rhythm was familiar. You seeing anyone these days? She asked lightly. Not right now. She didn't press. She never really did. Ben's talking to scouts, she said, like it was a weather report. 3 schools are interested. Good for him. He's always had that drive. I nodded. I didn't say I had it too. When the dishes were done, I dried my hands and stepped back. I should head out soon, I said. Mom frowned slightly. You're not staying for pie. I've got work early. Dad was asleep on the couch when I walked through. Ben had his feet up. Neither looked up. Bye, I said. Ben waved without turning. Later, out in the driveway, the cold hit hard. I wrapped my coat tighter. Lauren texted as I turned the ignition. Lauren, survived the turkey tribunal. Me, barely. Leaving early. Lauren, come over. I have wine and judgment. I smiled at the screen. Me. On my way. Christmas was the same. Polite gifts. Forced laughter. A family group photo I was barely in before Mom decided the lighting wasn't flattering and cropped me out. I said nothing. Easter. Same script. Ben brought a new girl, Jenna. Jamie. And Mom adored her. I made polite conversation. Cleared plates. Left early. Every interaction felt like an interview. Me, nodding along. Them, pretending nothing ever cracked. It became a cycle. Show up, smile, disappear, no confrontation, no screaming. Just absence. They didn't ask about my job. Didn't ask what I'd written, or read, or dreamed of. But they asked about Ben's stats like he was a stock portfolio. And I let it happen. Lauren asked me once, why do you keep going? Because not going feels louder than going, I said. And I'm not ready to be loud. You don't owe them your silence. No, I agreed. But I owe myself peace. And right now, pretending is quieter. She looked at me for a long time. then nodded. I'll be here when pretending stops working. I didn't plan on getting engaged. I planned on staying out of the spotlight, quietly building a life no one else had a claim to. But Jonah was patient. He learned my silences before he learned my schedule. He never flinched when I disappeared into work or when I forgot birthdays. He asked questions I didn't know how to answer, then waited anyway. When he asked me to dinner one Friday in March, I didn't suspect a thing. He wore a navy jacket and combed his hair back, the way he only did for funerals and faculty dinners. You look nice, I said. He smiled like he was keeping a secret. You always do. The restaurant was small, warm, lit like a movie. I know you don't like surprises, he said over the second course. That's true. But I also know you like clarity. So, he reached into his coat. A box, simple, velvet. I didn't open my mouth. You don't have to say anything right now, Jonah said. You don't have to perform. I just want to ask. He opened it. A small diamond, nothing flashy. The kind of ring someone buys after budgeting carefully. Will you marry me? I stared at it, then at him, then I nodded. Just once. He exhaled, reached across the table. I want it to be ours, he said. Not a show. Just us. I didn't cry. Not then. Later, when I was alone in the bathroom, I looked at the ring again under the light. It fit, like it had always been meant for. That finger. When I told my parents, it was through a group texting me. Just got engaged. Janice read it immediately. Richard a minute later, no response for 20 minutes. Then, Mom. Oh my goodness. Congrats. Can't wait to hear details. Who is he? Dad. Congratulations. Proud of you, kiddo. No question about the date. No ask to meet him. No follow-up. I stared at the thread for a while, then muted it. The 3 days passed. No calls. I didn't offer anything else. When I told Uncle David at a family dinner the following Sunday, he was the only one who reacted like it mattered. You're kidding, he said, hugging me hard. That's incredible news. Mom smiled from across the table. We were waiting for her to share more. Is there a date yet? Uncle David asked. Not yet. I said, we're taking our time. That's smart. Ben shrugged. So, is he into sports? No. Dad chuckled. Figures. I looked at him. What does that mean? He raised his hands. Just saying. You always liked the academic types. Jonah was a teacher, a kind one who brought home books instead of box scores. Dinner continued. I didn't. I stood. You okay? Mom asked. I'm leaving. Why? Because you always wait until I hand you something precious to make it feel disposable. Uncle David called out. Want me to walk you out? I paused. No. But thank you. Ben texted me that night. Ben. They didn't mean anything by it, me. That's the problem. They never do. Jonah opened a bottle of wine when I got home. Family. Dinner. I nodded. Exactly what I expected. He didn't press. Just poured. Sat with me in the quiet. We didn't have much, but we had two things that mattered. A door that locked from the inside, and a rule that said if something hurt, we said it. The couch was secondhand. The dishes mismatched. The bookshelves leaned slightly, always threatening collapse. Jonah called it our crooked kingdom. I like it better this way, he said once, handing me a mug with a chipped handle. Better than what? Than polished. Nothing here pretends to be more than it is. I knew he wasn't talking about furniture. We worked opposite shifts for a while. I did policy research for a local nonprofit. He taught 10th grade history and graded papers until midnight. When we passed each other, it was with forehead kisses and grocery lists scribbled on receipts. But the time we shared was real. Every Sunday, we had floor dinners, picnic blanket, wine in mugs, a movie neither of us finished. "Do you miss anything?" I asked him once, lying back on the carpet, my head in his lap. "From before? From what you imagined life would be?" He thought about it. I used to think success meant being impressive. And now I think it means being known. I didn't answer. He stroked my hair. "You?" he asked. I used to want to prove something. And now, I just want peace. He nodded. "You deserve that." We kept the apartment tidy but never precious. The walls were filled with things that made us laugh, tiny canvas prints of famous paintings, with cats photoshopped in, a fridge covered in postcards and crooked magnets. One evening, I came home to find he'd drawn a cartoon version of me in chalk marker on the bathroom mirror. I had a cape. It said, "Champion of Boundaries." "You're ridiculous," I said, smiling. "I'm observant," he replied. When he met Lauren, they hit it off immediately. "You're real," she said to him. Halfway through their second bottle of wine, he raised an eyebrow. "Should I not be?" "You'd be surprised," she muttered. Then to me, "Keep this one. He sees you." Jonah turned to me. "I do." The way he said it, it wasn't a compliment. It was a promise. He never pried about my family, but he asked once, gently, "What would you want it to look like if it were right?" "Simple," I said. "Someone who asks how my day was without expecting the answer to flatter them." That's a low bar, you'd think. He reached for my hand. "I want to meet them one day, but only if you want that." I held his fingers tight. "That day might never come. Then I'm honored to know you without them." Our apartment didn't look like much from the outside. A brick building with a flickering hallway light and a landlord who forgot things. But inside, it was quiet, honest, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I had to shrink to fit into it. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. He proposed again, properly, this time with witnesses. It was a Sunday in June, and Lauren had invited us to her rooftop. Casual pizza, a bottle of Prosecco, a few folding chairs and mismatched cushions under string lights. Jonah was nervous. I could tell. He kept touching his pocket, adjusting his sleeve, clearing his throat for no reason. Lauren noticed too. She raised an eyebrow at me across the deck. I shrugged. We were halfway through slices when he stood. "I want to say something," Jonah said, voice steady but soft. Lauren's boyfriend paused mid-bite. "Oh," Jonah looked at me, then around at the circle of people who'd become my version of family. "I asked her once already, just the two of us, but she deserves to hear the question in front of people who love her." My stomach tightened. He knelt. The entire city seemed to still behind him, lights, traffic, distant music. "I love you," he said. "I love the way you fight quietly. I love the way you protect what matters. I love who you are when no one's looking, and who you refuse to become just to please anyone else." He opened the box. A new ring. Simple, elegant. The stone slightly off-center, which he knew I'd like. "Marry me," he said. "Not because it's expected, but because it's ours." I didn't cry. Not at first. I nodded. Then I said, "Yes." Then I cried. Lauren cheered so loud a neighbor shouted from another building, Her boyfriend clapped. Someone spilled wine. Jonah stood, slipped the ring on my finger. It fit perfectly. You okay? He whispered. More than okay. He kissed my cheek. Good. Because I have no idea what I'm doing. Neither do I said. That's what makes it honest. That night, back at the apartment, I stared at my hand under the kitchen light. It's not even about the ring, I said. Jonah leaned on the counter. I know. It's the asking. The respect in it. He nodded. You deserve to be asked, not assumed. I ran my finger along the edge of the stone. Do you think they'll care? Your parents? Yes. I think they'll care when they're not included. They weren't included in the first proposal. Then maybe they won't notice. We both knew they would. Eventually, Lauren came over the next morning with bagels and a candle that smelled like vanilla and resilience. You look disgustingly happy, she said. I am. Do we hate them? I don't know. We can. I laughed. Let's wait on that. She sat on the couch and held out her hand. I showed her the ring. Oh, it's so you. I know. Does your mom know? Not yet. She blinked, planning to tell her. I'm thinking about it. I assume the wedding's going to be intimate. Very. She nodded. I hope I'm still on the list. You're the maid of honor. Lauren's mouth opened slightly, then closed. Then she grinned. I accept. She leaned back, kicked off her shoes. You don't need them to clap for you anymore, do you? She asked. No, you're. The applause now. *3 blank envelopes sat on the counter for 6 days. They were identical thick cream cardstock, gold foil lining, calligraphed addresses written in my own hand. One for Janice, one for Richard, one for Ben. I left them there like they might answer for themselves. Jonah didn't ask until the 3rd day. Want me to drop those in the mail tomorrow? I shook my head. Not yet. On the 4th day, he passed them without comment. On the 5th, Lauren picked one up. You going to send these? I haven't decided. You want my opinion? No. She nodded, placed it back down. Respect. On the 6th day, I stood in the kitchen alone, lights dim, the city breathing through the windows. I picked one up, ran my thumb along the edge. Their names stared back at me. My handwriting looked too careful, like it was pretending not to care. I thought about the RSVP cards inside, about how they would check attending without hesitation, as if their presence was a given. I thought about my graduation robe, my speech, my empty row. I picked up all 3 envelopes, walked to the recycling bin, stopped. Then I turned and walked them back to the counter. Jonah came in, keys in hand. He looked at me, then at the envelopes, still thinking. I think I've decided. He waited. I said, I'm not inviting them. He didn't flinch, just nodded. You sure? Yes. You don't owe me an explanation. I know, but I'll give you one. He set the keys down. Okay, I can't have them there just to play pretend. To smile for pictures and act like they clapped the loudest when they didn't even show up. You don't need to explain. I do. To myself. He stepped forward, gently placed a hand on my back. You don't want to look out on that day and see them in the crowd, pretending they earned a seat. No, I said. I want to look out and feel whole. Not watched, not judged, not borrowed. Then it's done. I nodded. Jonah picked up the envelopes. He didn't ask again. He just dropped them in the shredder drawer. Quiet. Final. We watched them disappear into ribbons. Later, over tea, he looked at me and said, You've never looked more peaceful. Asterisk the message came at 8:12 p.m. on a Thursday. Casey. Hey. Can't wait for the big day. I'm getting a dress this weekend. I stared at the screen. Her name in bright letters. The exclamation points. The assumption. She didn't mean anything by it. That was the problem. Casey, I know your mom's been looking at dresses too. Should be so sweet to have both families there. I hadn't told her. I hadn't told any of them. Jonah was on the couch, grading essays. You okay? I held up my phone. Casey messaged me. He looked up. What did she say? That she's shopping for a dress. That she's excited. That my mom's looking at dresses too. He sat forward. They're assuming. Of course they are. You going to tell her? I didn't answer. I typed instead me. Casey, just so you know my parents aren't invited. I watched the threes blink, vanish, blink again. Casey, oh, I didn't realize. Are you serious? Me. Yes, 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Then, Casey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to overstep. Just assumed me. You didn't overstep. You just didn't know. Jonah watched me. How'd she take it? Like someone who just walked into a room and saw a hole in the floor. Ben's going to hear about it soon. I know. You ready for that? I closed the app. I'm not bracing anymore. I'm just telling the truth when it comes up. He nodded. That's stronger than bracing. I leaned back. She probably thinks I'm being cruel. No, she probably thinks you're being honest. Those things only look the same from far away. The next morning, I had a message from Ben. Just one word. Ben, seriously? I didn't respond. Lauren texted an hour later. Lauren, Casey just called me. Sounded confused. Also a little scared of you. You're terrifying in a good way, me. I didn't raise my voice. Lauren, that's what makes it scary. I smiled at that later. That day, Casey messaged again. Casey, I just want you to know I'm still excited to be there, even if it's different than I pictured me. Thanks. That means something. It wasn't her fault. She'd walked into the family long after the fractures were formed. But I appreciated that she didn't try to plaster over them. Jonah squeezed my hand that night at dinner. You handled that well. I didn't panic. You didn't flinch. No. I said, I didn't. Asterisk asterisk. The call came on a Saturday morning, just after 9. I let it ring twice before answering. Hello. Janice's voice was bright, practiced. Good morning, sweetheart. I didn't answer. A pause. Then, I got a call from Casey. She said you're not inviting us to the wedding. I walked to the window. That's right. Silence stretched across the line. Well, she said, slowly. I hope this isn't about the graduation. It is, a beat. Honey, she said, with a breathy laugh. That was over a year ago. I know. We told you we were sorry we couldn't make it. Ben's game was more important. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. She sighed. We supported you your whole life. I paid for school. Well, yes. But we were always proud of you. You know that. No, I said. I don't. You can't just cut family out over one thing. It wasn't one thing. I don't understand why you're being like this. Because I gave a valedictorian speech to a room full of strangers, while the two people who were supposed to clap for me were in bleachers eating nachos. Her voice sharpened. We've done everything for you. You showed up when it was convenient. I said, you showed up for the parts that made you look good, not the ones that mattered to me. That's not fair. No, I said calmly. It's accurate. Another silence. Then, so you're really not inviting us? No. People will notice. Let them. Your father's hurt. He should be. Ben's confused. He shouldn't be. You're throwing away your family. I'm protecting my peace. Janice lowered her voice. Is this because of Jonah? What do you mean? You've changed since him. I've changed since realizing I deserve more than polite neglect. She sounded tired now. So that's it. We're just not part of your life anymore. You're not part of this chapter. You chose not to be part of the last one. You're being cruel. No, I said. I'm being honest. You only think honesty is cruelty when it stops serving you. I see, she said. Tight. Well, I hope your little wedding is everything you want. I hope your son's next game is too. She hung up. Jonah came into the room a minute later, holding two mugs. Was that her? Yes. How'd it go? I took the mug. She asked if this was about graduation. He raised an eyebrow. I said yes. Jonah sat beside me on the couch. You okay? I think I am. I stared at the steam rising from my drink. It smelled like cinnamon and finality. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. He called the next day. Not a text this time, an actual call. I let it go to voicemail. Then I played it twice. Hey, just wanted to talk. Mom's pretty upset. I don't know what happened, but they're saying we're not invited. I just want to understand. Can you call me back? I stared at the phone for a minute. Then I hit redial. He picked up immediately. Hey, hi, Ben. So, are you really doing this? Yes. You're not inviting them. No. Why? I paused. Do you remember my graduation? He hesitated. It was the same weekend as regionals. Do you remember anything about it? I mean, you gave a speech, right? I did. You were valedictorian or something. Or something. I echoed. Ben sighed. Look, I get that you're upset. But it was a big game. Scouts were there. I know. They said they told you they were sorry. They did. In a text. He didn't answer. You were in the photos, I said. Foam fingers. Face paint. Mom wore a shirt with your name on it. Yeah, they had them printed. You didn't. Think it was strange they didn't mention me. I guess I didn't think about it. That's the point. Ben's voice tightened. So you're punishing them? No. I'm setting a boundary. Same thing. Only if you've never been on the other side of one. Come on, he said. They're mom and dad. Yes. And that title doesn't excuse everything. You're really going to keep them out of your wedding? Yes. That's cold. No, I said, calmly. It's honest. Ben went quiet. I'm not doing this to hurt them. I said, I'm doing it because I've finally stopped pretending they didn't hurt me. They love you. They love the version of me that doesn't make things inconvenient. That's not fair. It's not a courtroom, Ben. I'm not presenting evidence. I'm telling you what I lived. He exhaled sharply. You're really not changing your mind. No. Okay, he said. Then I guess. Congrats. Anyway, he hung up. I didn't call back. Asterisk it started with a message from Mom. Mom, I just think this is something we should talk about. You don't get married every day. We deserve to be part of it. Then from Dad. Whatever happened, can't we move past it? You're our daughter. Ben added his version. Ben, this is getting out of hand. Can we just have a phone call like adults? I stared at the screen. The name of the thread. Family. I hadn't renamed it, but I wanted to. Something honest. Like people who forgot my milestones. I didn't respond right away. I left the messages unread for 2 hours. Then a fourth came. Mom, you're making a mistake. This is going to leave a scar. I typed, deleted, typed again, then finally, me. The scar already exists. You just never looked at it. The threads. Then nothing. Jonah looked over from the kitchen. That the group thread? I nodded. Want me to delete it for you? No. I held my phone. I want to know what they'll say next. He paused. You sure? Yes. 10 minutes later, it came. Dad, this isn't fair to your mother. She's heartbroken. I closed my eyes, breathed, then typed again. Me. She wasn't heartbroken when she missed my speech. She was smiling in bleachers. Ben, why are you doing this now? Why bring it back up? Me. Because no one ever let it be spoken in the first place. Then Mom, you're being cruel. That day was hard for all of us. Me. No, it was hard for me. And easy for you. That's the difference. I hovered my thumb over the thread, scrolled back through years of polite emojis, birthday texts, lol responses, reminders for holidays. Nothing deeper. Nothing that saw me. Jonah walked over, placed a mug beside me. You okay? I'm about to be. I clicked leave conversation. Confirmed. I stared at the blank screen. Then back at Jonah. I left. He nodded. How do you feel? Like something just unclenched in my chest. He sat beside me. You don't have to make space for people who only show up when it's convenient. I know, I said. But this time, I actually believe it. We met Jonah's parents on a Sunday afternoon, 2 months before the wedding. Grace wore a linen blouse, the sleeves gently rolled. Daniel shook my hand like I was already family. They brought a lemon cake in a glass dish and complimented the apartment's crooked charm. We were just happy he didn't move into another studio with 3 roommates, Grace joked. Smiling at Jonah, he smiled back. We upgraded. After tea and small talk, we sat around the dining table for chairs, soft light. The hum of distant traffic through the cracked window. Daniel cleared his throat. We wanted to ask, gently, about the guest list. Jonah looked at me. Go ahead. Grace folded her hands. We just wondered if your parents would be attending. No pressure. Just curious. No, I said. They both paused. I understand that might be unexpected, I continued, but the answer is no. They're not invited. Grace nodded slowly. Thank you for telling us directly. Daniel leaned back slightly. I'm sure. That wasn't a simple decision. It was, I said. Just not an easy one. Jonah reached for my hand under the table. I let him take it. Grace took a breath. Would it be too forward to ask why? I met her eyes. They missed my graduation? My valedictorian speech. Because my brother had a baseball game. She blinked once. I see. And then they pretended nothing happened, I added. So I stopped pretending too. Daniel nodded slowly. Sometimes the absence says more than the apology. There was no apology. He looked at Jonah. And this doesn't affect your decision. Jonah's voice was calm. It's one of the reasons I'm so sure. Grace smiled, quiet and full. We're honored to be part of it. After they left, Jonah closed the door and leaned against it. You didn't flinch. Should I have? No. He smiled. But I know how heavy that was. It's less heavy now. Like drawing a line in sand and realizing it doesn't need to be erased. Lauren came by later with printouts, seating charts, options for centerpieces. She glanced at the table. Meeting went well. They were kind. They asked. I answered. She held up to cards. Gold or navy? Gold. She paused. You sure? Yes. Just checking. You're not usually this decisive. I'm not usually this free. It was October, the kind of cold that kissed your shoulders but never sank in. The rooftop smelled like eucalyptus and champagne. Strings of lights stretched overhead, soft gold against a gray-blue sky. I stood behind the makeshift curtain, heart steady, not racing, just aware. Lauren adjusted my veil. Still breathing. Still here. You look calm. I am. She smiled. You deserve this peace. I nodded once. Jonah waited at the end of the aisle. His suit was simple. His eyes never left me. Lauren stepped out first, bouquet in hand. She didn't need to rehearse. She walked like she belonged everywhere. She went. Then the music changed. I took a breath and stepped forward. There was no crowd, just faces that mattered. Uncle David, Grace and Daniel, a handful of friends who knew our story. Not just the headline version, no foam fingers, no applause, just silence, reverent and full. Jonah's eyes softened when I reached him. He mouthed, "Hi." I smiled. The officiant said something gentle. We barely heard. Then vows. Jonah went first. I promise not to demand your softness, he said, only to deserve it. I blinked once, then twice. He continued. I promise not to silence your pain, or shrink your joy. I will not call your boundaries walls. I will not ask you to fold. I held his hand tighter than mine. I promise to choose you the way I've learned to choose myself without apology. He exhaled, slowly. I promise not to disappear when it's inconvenient, and not to call it love when it's only comfort. I will stay, even when staying asks more of me. We exchanged rings. His hand trembled for 1 second, then steadied. The officiant declared us. There was clapping, but it was gentle. We kissed. It was short, sacred. Afterward, on the terrace, Lauren handed me a glass. How do you feel? Whole. Not bad for a wedding without family. I had family. I said, the kind I chose. She raised her glass. To that, Grace hugged me longer than I expected. Thank you for letting us witness this. Daniel added, you carry yourself with such clarity. It's rare. Uncle David pulled me aside. If your father ever asks what this looked like, tell him it was perfect. Jonah and I left before sunset faded. No send-off, no theatrics, just a quiet walk to the elevator, hand in hand. I didn't miss them, I said. He squeezed my hand. I know. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. It was waiting in the mailbox when we got back from the honeymoon. Cream envelope. Familiar handwriting. Janice. Jonah saw it first. Do you want to open it? No. But I did. I waited until after dinner. Until the dishwasher hummed. Until the light outside turned gold. Then I sat at the table and peeled it open. 3 pages. Lined paper. Every word centered like it belonged in a greeting card. I read it slowly. She opened with disappointment, not regret. She called the wedding a difficult loss. She said they were deeply hurt by the exclusion. She hoped one day I would understand the position we were in. She didn't mention graduation. Not once, no acknowledgement, no memory, just omission. She said she'd been embarrassed by the questions. by having no explanation for why their daughter didn't invite them, she wrote. Your father hasn't stopped replaying it. Then, we supported you in every way we knew how. If that wasn't enough, I'm sorry you feel that way. I closed my eyes. Not, we're sorry we weren't there. Not, we hurt you. Just, we're upset that we were excluded. Jonah came into the room. He didn't ask. He just sat across from me. She still doesn't see it, I said. He nodded. Do you want to write back? I don't know. You don't have to. I held the paper in both hands. Not tight. Not trembling. Just steady. She wrote 3 pages about how it affected her, I said, and not one sentence about how I might have felt. She's not ready to own it. She may never be. Jonah said nothing. I folded the letter, placed it back in the envelope. I didn't shred it. I didn't burn it. I just put it in a drawer with the warranty manuals and expired coupons. It belonged to the category of things I no longer needed but couldn't quite discard. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Do you want me to hate them for you? Jonah asked softly. No, I said. I just want them to understand what they lost. I waited 3 days. Not to cool off, there was no heat left. Just to be certain I wanted to say what I meant, and nothing more. Then I wrote it, 1 paragraph, printed, signed, sealed. I didn't need 3 pages. I used the same cream stationery she favored. The same ink. I wrote, when I needed you, you chose someone else. That's the day you lost access to my joy. No salutation, no closing, no anger. Just the line between who I used to be and who I became. I showed it to Jonah before sealing it. He read it twice, handed it back. It's clear. That's all it needs to be. You want me to mail it? No. I wanted the walk. I tucked it into my coat pocket, slipped on boots, and left before the sun was fully up. The air was sharp, my steps steady. The mailbox sat on the corner like it always had. I'd passed it 100 times, but never like this. I slid the letter and it made a sound, small, final, like a book closing. On the way back, I stopped for coffee. The barista smiled. You look like you just made a decision. I did. Well, I hope it was the right one. It was. I took my drink, sat at the window, watched the street wake up, and felt nothing but lightness. I didn't check for a reply. Not after a day. Not after a week. Some doors don't slam shut. They close quietly, with the soft click of certainty. Jonah asked once, gently, did she respond? I don't know. You're not curious. I was, I said, but not enough to reopen it. He nodded. That's closure. It didn't feel like triumph. Just peace, like removing a coat you forgot you were wearing. Lauren came over with a bottle of red and a new haircut. She kicked off her shoes and flopped on the couch. How's post-married life? Peaceful. Any more family drama? No. She raised an eyebrow. That's suspicious. I sent a final letter. Burning bridges, sealing them. She grinned. There's something elegant about your brand of vengeance. It's not vengeance. No, it's gravity. I said, you step off the ledge and let things fall the way they're meant to. She sipped her wine. And what fell? Pretending, pleasing, hoping they'd see me if I just stood still long enough. Jonah came out of the kitchen. You too, solving the world again? Just emotionally auditing it, Lauren said. He handed me a plate of cut fruit. You left this in the fridge. I took it. Thanks. Lauren watched us. You know, some people spend decades chasing this. This? I asked. Clarity. Quiet love. Knowing you don't have to be louder to matter. I looked at Jonah. It took leaving a lot behind. Worth it. I nodded. Every mile. Later that night, when the apartment was dark and Jonah had drifted off, I stood by the window. The city was soft, with fog. A street lamp flickered across from the bookstore. I thought about all the versions of myself I'd carried. The girl waiting in the front row with a speech in her purse. The one holding back tears in a campus bathroom. The woman placing a photo on a wall, choosing herself for the first time. They were still with me. Not ghosts, just echoes. I whispered, "Thank you." Then I turned off the light. The new place has a reading nook. It wasn't why we chose the apartment, but it became my favorite part. A narrow alcove tucked beside the living room window. Big enough for a chair, a lamp, and a stack of books I keep meaning to finish. Jonah calls it my throne. Every morning, he passes by with coffee and says, "Your Majesty." I roll my eyes, every time, and smile, every time. The chair is deep green, velvet, secondhand. The lamp arcs like a question mark. There's a throw blanket Lauren gave me, gray. Soft, heavier than it looks. Sometimes I just sit there. No book, no phone. Just air and breath and stillness. Today, Jonah walks by and pauses. "You journaling again?" "No. Just thinking. Just remembering." He doesn't press. Just kisses the top of my head and moves on. I sit back, pull the blanket up, watch the light change on the hardwood. There's a photo on the shelf beside me and Jonah on the wedding day. Not posed. Just laughing. And next to it, another frame, my graduation picture, the same face, different eyes. I think about the weight I used to carry in every room, how I checked for their approval before speaking, how I kept shrinking, hoping one day they'd ask why I was so small. They never did. Now, I'm not small, not loud, not vengeful, just right-sized. The reading nook doesn't get much sun in the afternoon, but in the morning, the light pours in like forgiveness. Sometimes I read. Sometimes I close my eyes and let silence sit with me, like an old friend. The quiet is earned, so when Lauren visits and finds me there, she always whispers, "You look settled," she said last week. I am. "You used to flinch when your phone lit up. I don't anymore." She nodded. "Takes a while to trust the stillness." I do now. This morning, I made tea and sat with a new book. Didn't open it. I stared out the window, into a sky that didn't owe me anything. And I thought, without resistance, I did it. People assume revenge is fire. They imagined slammed doors and shouted truths and cinematic exits. Mine didn't look like that. It looked like quiet mornings. A wedding with no drama. A reading chair under a window. It looked like not responding, not explaining, not inviting. They say forgiveness is for the forgiver, not the forgiven. I believe that. But I also believe forgiveness is not the same as permission. I forgave them the day I stopped waiting for them to change. I took back my time, my space, my name in their mouths. That was enough. I didn't burn bridges. I just stopped sending directions. Jonah asked me once, when we were putting together the bookshelf, "Do you think you'll talk to them again someday?" "Maybe." "Would you want to?" I tightened the bolt on the bottom shelf. "Only if they arrive as guests, not owners." He nodded. That was all. Peace isn't a performance. It's what happens when you stop auditioning. They may still talk about me at gatherings I don't attend, in stories they rewrite, but I no longer live in their version. I've edited myself back into the story in full color. I am not the afterthought. I am not the apology someone else forgot to give. I am the ending I chose. Jonah is making breakfast. I can hear the pan, the hum of the burner in a moment. He'll ask how I slept. He always does. And I'll answer honestly. Well, better than I have in years. Asterisk, 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 asterisk.